Good evening and welcome to NYNJPA Weather, your weather source for the Northern Mid-Atlantic. I'm meteorologist Stephen DiMartino. Well, the surface map this evening clearly shows our cold front finally moving off the east coast. Actually, what's pushed in this cold front is our secondary cold front, which actually has the cold air. So I guess you could say the real cold front is moving through central New York and central Pennsylvania right now. Regardless of whether it's the first cold front, second cold front, much cooler conditions are on the way for tonight through tomorrow and into this weekend. So say goodbye to the 70s, but also say goodbye to the rain. So looks like this weekend, especially for all you guys going out there for Halloween, it's going to be clear skies, dry conditions obviously. Winds are going to be decreasing. They're still going to be picking up anywhere from 10 to 20 miles per hour tonight into tomorrow morning, but then back off to 5 to 10 miles per hour for the rest of the weekend. The big change, though, is that we will return to the 50s for highs, which is basically right around near normal for late October and early November. What's coming up next? Well, it looks like next week is going to be a little bit more stormy than what we're going to be expecting for this coming weekend. This is the European model guidance from the Penn State E-Wall at 500 millibars on Sunday morning. Few interesting features. We have a strong upper level low over New England and the Canadian Maritimes. We have a weak disturbance that is developing over the plains, and of course we have a developing positive EPO pattern in the Pacific. So basically what we're setting up for, even though Sunday is relatively dry, we're setting up a pattern that will produce stormy conditions as we move forward. Keep an eye on that trough over the northeast and that disturbance over the plains. And at the surface you can see we have a cold front starting to move through the mid-Atlantic and the northeast. That cold front stalls and sets up a boundary, a battle zone of temperatures, and we have a developing low pressure over the plains. Now low pressure systems tend to like to move along temperature boundaries. So if we have a temperature boundary setting up over the Ohio Valley and through the southern mid-Atlantic, guess where this low pressure system is going? Now by Monday morning, keep an eye on this ridge over the west. Notice that the ridge axis is over Idaho and over eastern Montana. Very important, when this trough axis centers around central Montana, it's usually an indication of an East Coast storm. Now, of course, orientation matters in all of these features, but like I said, when you get this ridge, climatologically, well, usually you see an East Coast storm. Meanwhile, at the surface, our area low pressure moves from the plains, is tracking towards the mid-Atlantic, high pressure is ridging in. Boy, does this look familiar for, I don't know, maybe the winter? Well, we'll have to wait and see. But also notice, look back towards the southwest, towards Texas, another area low pressure starting to develop. Meanwhile, we have our powerful storm in the Gulf of Alaska, our ridge over the west. Looks like we're setting up for what looks to be a stormy week coming up for much of next week. Right on cue, we have our new disturbance developing over the southern plains. Our trough is a positively tilted trough, which means these low pressure systems are going to move quickly. This is a progressive pattern still, not to be confused with what happened last year in the late fall time period where the trough started to dig and it became negative and the storms moved slowly. This is a very progressive pattern, very typical of a La Nina pattern. So you get your trough over the Pacific and over the Gulf of Alaska. A ridge starts to build over the west coast and parts of the Rockies. Notice again, our ridge axis starting to develop over Montana. Our disturbance second disturbance starts to develop over the southern plains, and some of our polar jet stream energy starts to interact with our low pressure system approaching the mid-Atlantic. As for the surface map, here we are on Tuesday morning. We have an area low pressure starting to develop off the southeast coast. Don't expect these low pressure systems to develop this far south as we move into the winter. Most of these storms are going to develop around the Delaware coastal waters or New Jersey coastal waters, thus a Miller B type storm track. However, in this case, a new coastal low develops over the southeast. This low is expected to track northeast. Now notice these high pressure systems over the Great Lakes, northern plains, parts of southeast Canada. They're going to funnel in colder air into the northern mid-Atlantic. and those in the highest elevations, we're talking 1,500 feet and up, has the potential for some snow mixing in. How much snow? Too early to tell. I would not be surprised if most locations in the Poconos have only a light accumulation, if that, above 1,500 feet. But there is a threat, and so I wanted to mention it. This low pressure also will move quickly. It will not stall. It will not sit. It's going to get in and out very quickly, and by Wednesday morning will be out in the Atlantic. But between Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening through Wednesday morning, looks like that we're in for a moderate rain event with some snow mixing in, or change over to all snow over the highest elevations of the Poconos and the Hudson Valley. Over the next several days, I'll keep an eye on this active weather pattern, and we'll see how everything's going to turn out. Of course, with a progressive La Nina type pattern, there is a potential this storm could end up further east into the Atlantic. So of course, we'll keep an eye on that. Thank you for trusting in NYNJPA Weather, your weather source for the Northern Mid-Atlantic. I'm meteorologist Stephen DiMartino.